Hello everybody and welcome to Amphlett Reviews, back with a Hong Kong content review, diving into some more Jackie Chan content for you guys. And boy, is it a good time to be a Jackie Chan fan for 2025. We are getting some absolute stellar releases and lots of brand new 4K transfers with some new extras alongside it. 88 Films seem to be really pumping out these editions, going through their back catalogue and basically just doing 4K restorations for Jackie Chan's library, which is something that I kind of expected they would do many years ago back during COVID. I figured they would go back and do this, and Eureka's been on it. 88 Film are definitely on it with their quite extensive library of Jackie Chan films. We've had Project A 1 and 2 on 4K, absolutely phenomenal. We've had Dragons Forever on 4K. We are getting Miracles in 4K at the end of this month. We're getting Operation Condor 2 that's recently been announced for June, Crime Story, and now we have, of course, Dragon Fist, one of their OG library titles, one that was definitely needed compared to some of these other ones for a brand new transfer and just a kind of a re-examination and to kind of get the film back in the zeitgeist of people's kind of thinking again, because they did a bulk of movies back when they first started doing kind of Hong Kong movies, something that me and my friend Alex explored during COVID, which they had about, I think, 4 movies, I believe, various different titles and quality. And the only one we both really liked out of the ones we watched was Dragon Fist, which was the best one. He was the last one out of the bunch, and he was the one that we've both had the most surprise factor to it in terms of the quality, but also it was just a really solid movie. A great addition from 88 Films in terms of a brand new 4K transfer, which has recently just came out. There you go, fantastic Kung Fu Bob artwork, which absolutely love this artwork over the original, but I did put the original poster for the reversible art. There you go, if you're curious there, guys. Double disc, 4K and Blu-ray, with some art cards involved. And of course you do get the poster, and you do get the extensive booklet, which is always very much a treat to dive into as well. Now, Dragon Fist was released in 1979. This was the same year as The Fearless Hyena, which I will definitely review for the channel very soon. By the time I get around to reviewing it, they'll probably announce a 4K edition for that as well, very likely, and probably also for the Shaolin Wonderman, which I think are both stellar releases. This one was 1976, 1979, 1979. So just, you can definitely tell Jackie Chan's trajectory going on from his kind of contract with Lo Wei and going into Golden Harvest, which I think after Fearless Hyena was the kind of beginning of that after doing Dragon Lord. So you can tell his trajectory is very specific. You know, he's doing these kind of very typical kind of Bruce Lee imitation kind of movies, which Lo Wei was trying to do, being the fact that Lo Wei did direct some Bruce Lee films. I think The Big Boss, I believe he did do, or I think Fist of Fury, which I think he did both of those films, which are fine. I think they're good films. I think they work for Bruce Lee, but even then, you can tell that even with something like Fist of Fury, Bruce Lee wanted to not be kind of typecast into the typical revenge kind of movie, the angry person that has to get revenge, cliche kind of plot line that's been used multiple times. And you can tell from Jackie Chan's early career, which is something I've dived into a little bit on the channel for some of his previous films, they were trying to make Jackie the next big Bruce Lee, which they didn't realize what they had. And lucky Jackie Chan having the foresight and kind of pushing some of his kind of creativity forward, taking charge of the choreographed kind of, you know, action fight sequences, putting some of his kind of signature kind of comedy, which is definitely in this film, and just kind of presenting himself as a front runner, but also a rising star within the box office, and really kind of demonstrating that with some of these specific kind of films, which I've dived into already with, obviously, Drunken Master, Snake and Eagle Shadows, definitely helped him in terms of his trajectory, doing more comedic side, action, environmental kind of comedy, and then leading to his more directing-based work later on with Young Master. So a really rich career from this kind of mega superstar Jackie Chan, which is known for, and Dragon Fist is definitely a nice milestone on that journey, alongside these other two that I really appreciate. As mentioned, this is directed by Lo Wei, which I think everyone is in agreement that was not a great director, not a particularly strong director in my opinion. He did some okay movies, even some of the extra kind of Jackie Chan films he did. I think Spiritual Kung Fu, I think To Kill with Intrigue, if I remember correctly. They're okay films. Most of his films are just okay. The Bruce Lee ones, a little better than usual, but I think, again, that's Bruce Lee kind of giving more, finding the right talent, well, obviously with Bruce Lee and with Jackie Chan, but I don't think he knew how to use them to the best advantage. He wasn't giving them the best material, especially with some of the early Jackie Chan films, with New Fist of Fury, which wasn't great. I think he was just really out of character for him, where compared to something like John Woo, Hand of Death, really kind of demonstrated Jackie Chan's strengths and really utilized him within his film. So you can tell which directors kind of used him in the best way and allowed him to be more creative. And I think, to give some credit to the director in this case, even though I don't think he's a good director and I don't think he does great films, out of the 6 or 7 that I have watched of his so far, he does allow his star to really kind of shine in his movies, especially within the Bruce Lee ones. Within this one in particular, I think Jackie Chan is really excellent in this film. I think he shows a different side of him that we don't get to see until much later on. Again, this was an early portion of his kind of revenge kind of based movies. I feel a lot more serious, a lot more grounded kind of performance, a lot more of an angrier character, which is going through an experience and a journey, and we as the viewer are going through that with him, which I'll dive into more in a minute. Now, the story for Dragon Fist is actually, on surface, a very simple film, but actually very clever, very smart in terms of its execution and the direction it goes into. I think this is a really stellar, really solid Jackie Chan film, but also just a great film by itself anyway, in terms of what the film goes for. And it's quite surprising and actually quite entertaining for multiple different reasons in terms of where it goes, in terms of twists and turns. Now, the beginning of Drunken Fist starts very typical, very cliched, as you would expect from a Shaw Brothers film or a typical kind of Hong Kong movie beginning, where you've got Jackie Chan's master and mentor basically winning a competition, this kind of like, tournament, this kind of fighting tournament, and a rival kind of enemy comes in, basically wants to challenge him and destroy his kind of sign for his school, which is very typical, and basically challenges to a fight for his kind of signature kind of, freestyle kick, I believe, and basically goes about it, humiliates the master, leaving to the point where he's having essentially a heart attack. The master is left defeated, humiliated, and very angry, and basically worked up to the point where he basically has a heart attack. From what I gathered of the film, his injuries are quite severe, he's panicking, he's got blood, and he's so distraught at what's happened. Our rival enemy is basically left, not really caring about the title. He destroyed the kind of the sign, he's humiliated the whole kind of, school. He's there for a different reason, which we'll find out momentarily. However, the master in this case does die. Jackie Chan is super angry, very kind of pissed off, and basically wants to seek revenge for the rival enemy that's come there and basically humiliated and destroyed his world, he's destroyed his family, destroyed his kind of status and the school and the martial arts he's been learning for quite some time. Now, not too long after this, basically our rival enemy, played by Wong Xing-wan, the film, which is a very recognizable name in multiple Shaw Brothers films and Jackie Chan films, plays a lot of villains traditionally, which would be perfect casting for a villain for the film, returns back home after defeating the master and finding his wife has committed suicide. Now, the reason why he has gone to that temple and gone to that master and humiliated him, defeated him, led to his own death. He wanted to kind of settle the score, a rivalry against that person, and this led to the tragic suicide of his wife, which he reads in the suicide note, which is quite shocking and quite like, whoa, comes very left field. Now, traditionally, you would expect the montage sequence, the training, you expect all the villain speeches and all the kind of the pitfalls that you would see within a typical Shaw Brothers film or Hong Kong movie. Now, this is where the film alters and changes. Now, Jackie Chan travels with the wife and the daughter of the master that's fallen, tracks down the villain of the piece, essentially, to his kind of home kind of town, his turf, and basically wants to challenge him to a legendary fight, a very angry, revengeful, nasty fight. He's been training for quite some time. I think there's a little bit of a time gap. And basically, our villain of the piece has turned a new leaf. And we're not sure if this is genuine, or sure if this is a trick. And we as a viewer are expecting, the worst of the worst, because usually within a lot of these typical films, they are very devious and very sneaky. And constantly throughout the interaction between Jackie and, the villain of the piece, air quote kind of thing, he is very sincere, very apologetic, and basically regrets what he did. And this has led to his wife basically dying. It's led to shame for his actions. And he generally feels remorse about what's happened. And he's trying to make it up for what's happened. He's basically saying, give me 3 days to get my affairs in order. Let me figure out what I need to do. While he's got a another problem in the background, which is a rival school, a rival kind of adversary, which is causing problems for him in the town, luring his kind of people out, killing them, challenging to battles, and basically he's got a bigger problem in his kind of home turf, alongside Jackie Chan wanting revenge one-on-one, mano-a-mano, and he basically needs time to get his affairs in order. I won't reveal what happens in the film completely, but there is some surprising kind of twists and turns and reveals that do happen within the film, things that generally I wasn't really expecting. And it's interesting for a revenge movie because it is very calm, collected, it's very reserved, and you can feel the frustration of Jackie Chan's character, because he is there wanting a fight, he's angry, he's pumped up, and he's not getting it, he's not getting what he wants. And there is satisfaction, there is a sense of debt being paid, and he basically wants a fist fight. And it's a very smart movie, it's a very unconventional revenge movie, because it doesn't go for the typical things you would expect. He is interacting with that clan, he's interacting with the wife and the daughter of the master, saying, I owe you a great service, you took me in, you're basically my mom, I'm your surrogate kind of son, essentially. I want satisfaction, I want revenge, I want that guy dead, essentially, and he's not getting it. And it's interesting, there's a few complications that do happen. He ends up going, finding out more about the two rival kind of schools that are on that location. One of them is a bit more devious than the other. He's playing tricks and kind of setting Jackie Chan up later on to take a fall for a murder, which is kind of surprising and quite like, whoa, wasn't really expecting it, which is why it's 18 rated. And it gets pretty intense as the film goes along. The story, I think, is absolutely excellent. I think it's a really solid film for the time, for the way the film was structured, put together. It's very collected. Again, the music isn't over the top and silly. It's allowing these scenes to kind of breathe, these big open locations, really good sets and actual on-location filming. There's a bit of a time distance between interactions, and there's just a lot of breathing room in this film, which I really appreciate. It's not boring, it's not dull, it's just calm, and you can feel the tension in the film because there is a lot of moving parts. There are a lot of players in this that have their own agenda and have their own kind of reasons why they want certain things to be done, and it's very smart, very fleshed out, and leads to a very strong third act climax finale, which I thought was bad fucking ass. We've been building up to this for quite some time, but before we get to that, Jackie in the film, I think he plays a really strong character. He's playing a challenging character, someone who is playing the typical kind of angry revenge kind of student that wants justice for his master, but he's not getting it. Again, he's very frustrated, and I like some of the lighter moments where he's basically breaking out that kind of facade, that kind of persona. There is some of his signature style kind of comedy in terms of his kind of environmental, how he fights kind of his enemies, which I think is great. You can definitely tell he did all the staging and all the choreographed kind of fighting in this film. It's definitely his lament, definitely his tempo, definitely his style. It's a lot of shots are done in one take, which is brilliant, and he's definitely complementing his performer alongside himself. He's not invincible, but he's also willing to take on like 5 enemies at once. Some of his smack talk is really on point, which I think is great in terms of, can I look in the bag? It will cost you a leg. It's a very high price to pay. Some of his smack talk is great. I love it. He definitely means it as well, which is great. I really appreciate it. So he does a really good character that has some attitude, but also has some vulnerability in terms of his kind of loyalty and his fealty towards his master. Some light-hearted moments with the kid and some of the characters that we do interact with. And it's just a good performance overall, really strong. And I like, what they do with those early fight scenes in the beginning. I think they're very entertaining, very strong. All this leading up to a awesome kick-ass third act finale. All twists get revealed, betrayals and showdown is commencing essentially. And it doesn't go the way you expect it would. And I really like the reveal of that on basically the journey of a untraditional revenge film. By the end, it's very bittersweet. There is a sense of closure, but not really. Basically, the journey, what happens, comes at a really high cost. And by the end, what did you get out of it? In terms of the character and his journey, what did he ultimately achieve? And that is a haunting kind of question the film goes for, which I think is very smart. On top of that, we get some awesome badass Jackie Chan fights in terms of that third act. Goes full on IP man with his kind of kind of punches, even to the point where he's punching someone's neck like 500 times. Thinking, Jackie, he's dead. My God, you destroyed that person. You have humiliated him beyond belief. You can stop now. This character gets really angry and explodes in that kind of third act, which you can tell by his fighting and that style. Something that you don't usually see that often with Jackie Chan until much later on with his later films. Great supporting cast, great villains, great kind of twists and turns, great release overall. Definitely get Dragon Fist on 4K from 88 Films. Go and get it now. Definitely worth your time, guys, for sure. So what are your thoughts and opinions on Dragon Fist? Please comment down below. What is your favorite of Jackie Chan's early career and his early films, not part of the usual signature films, like any kind of low-key movies that are really strong and really good? Please comment down below. So in time, guys, Amphlett Reviews, signing out.